Like, things like this is why we can't have good things. Hey geeks, welcome to my channel. I'm Trey Guillotine, and you're watching Daily Marvels, where I give a few thoughts on some of the Marvel news that went on in the past week. Kevin Feige has some things to say about the success of Black Panther. There's been some unsettling claims about some Black Panther screenings, and Black Panther star Chadwick Boseman talks about the impact of Black Panther. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and share it around so others can join in the conversation. So, Marvel Studios director Kevin Feige actually had some pretty strong statements about the success of Black Panther, and he gave these in an interview. He says, "The movie finished, and I looked over at Ryan Coogler. I said, this is the best movie we've ever made." When asked about why it took so long for Black Panther to finally be made, he actually talks about how Wesley Snipes was trying to get Black Panther made in the 90s. He admits that he can't speak for what was going in the 90s, but he can talk about from 2008 on, and that originally they were trying to just create the original Avengers and adding more stories, and that when they finally had a chance to add in Black Panther and T'Challa, they took it. But on the same side, they've also been kind of sprinkling in like little Easter eggs or teasers about Wakanda, especially in Iron Man 2. He talks about that in the scene where Tony Stark is brought in to talk to Nick Fury at the very end of the movie. There's actually a map on the wall that points to Wakanda in Africa. So when they had the chance to bring in T'Challa in Captain America Civil War, they absolutely jumped on it. And he admits that he underestimated the impact that this movie would have, especially in regards to having that kind of representation for young black men and young black women to have heroes that look like them. He says, "That was something a white male in the US takes for granted, and you don't take that for granted anymore. Everyone deserves to see themselves on the silver screen and the inspiration that comes from it." Which I absolutely agree with. Kevin Feige also said that he's actually kind of relieved that this movie wasn't made in the 90s with Wesley Snipes, because then we wouldn't have the movie that we have now. We wouldn't have the Black Panther that is such a smashing success with Chadwick Boseman as T'Challa and with Ryan Coogler as the director. He says that he's so glad that it's being made now, because both the actor and the director probably wouldn't have been old enough to do it. And on the one hand, I agree. I'm so glad that Black Panther is what it is. I'm so glad that the movie is such a success and such just a strong movie. And I don't even want to say a strong superhero movie. It is just a strong movie. It was very similar in regards to like Captain America Winter Soldier, where it wasn't as much a superhero movie as it was this kind of like political drama. Where it was actually more of like this political and family drama. So I agree in the sentiment that I'm glad that it wasn't made then, because then we probably wouldn't have the movie we have now. However, I do think it's a real shame that especially the African American and the black community have had to wait this long to get a movie like this, and that it took 2017 and 2018 to have, a strong female-led character, a superhero movie in Wonder Woman, and to have just the same strong black, primarily black cast, black culture movie now in 2018. So I do think it's a shame that we've had to, that community has had to wait this long, because as a white male, I've had so many heroes my entire life. I had Spider-Man, I had all of the X-Men, I had Spider-Man and all the X-Men. I had so many opportunities and so many strong white male characters to look up to that the black community and black children my age growing up didn't have that. So they did have Blade, which was great. Well, Blade 1 and 2 was great. Blade 1 and 2 was great. I don't know, I'm kind of iffy on Blade 3. I don't know if I liked it or not. It's been a while since I've watched the Blade trilogy, but they didn't have nearly as much the representation and the heroes to look up to as I have growing up. So I think it's just a shame that they've had to wait this long. But with that said, I am glad that they do finally have that kind of hero to look up to, and what a hero and what a movie to look up to. Just a smashing success. Unfortunately, with the success of Black Panther, there's also come some disruption in how people are reacting to Black Panther outside of just the fans and the communities that are loving this movie. There's been a large group of individuals a lot of people are calling them trolls. I'm calling them, I don't know what to call them, but it's not even troll behavior. It's just, it's tragic and terrible behavior. They are posting fake claims with past pictures of women who were abused, who are bruised and bloody, past pictures of past events, and they are posting them now as current accounts of them being beaten at Black Panther screenings, saying that there were black men there who said, this movie's not for you, and they beat them up, and they're posting these accounts. It's not just one, it's not just two, it's many. And so many of them are being shared all over the internet, and fortunately, we're in a day and age in 2018 where we can easily search and see this picture that they're posting is fake. This is from something in the past. This is from something that was for something else. It's not. Some of them weren't even actual pictures of abuse, but women in. But there was one post that they posted a picture of a woman who looked bruised, but it was actually something from a while ago that this woman actually did like makeup, like movie makeup, to make a statement about the abuse on women. And they're posting them now as current events, saying that they're being attacked at Black Panther screenings, that black men are beating them up because this movie's not for them. And that pisses me off so much that like, I know for me, these superhero movies, especially the Marvel movies, are a big deal for me. Every time one comes out, it's a big deal for me. Like, I'm able to wait. I've gotten to the point where I'm able to wait a couple days from the premiere date if I have to go see it. But I need to see it now, and it's a big deal for me. And the fact that these events are being ruined, at least being ruined after the fact of the screening, with posts like these, just to make the African American community look bad, for no other reason than either just to get attention for the quote-unquote trolls themselves. I don't know what else to call them, but I feel like troll is too trivial a term for these people that are posting these. But for lack of a better word that I can't really think of right now, just posting these things just for these trolls to get attention, at the very least to get attention, and at the very worst to specifically spark racial tensions and outrage from other communities who aren't going to use the internet and aren't going to take 5 minutes to look at these accounts and say this is fake, and actually do research and see this is fake, who are just going to jump on it and immediately react and say, oh, no one should go see Black Panther because they're just going to get beat up, and this is a movie that sparks racial outrage, and it's a movie that's sparking attacks on white people, because it's not true. It's just not true. And the fact that this is happening pisses me off. I mean, amazingly enough, we didn't have, posts about white women beating up men at Wonder Woman screenings. Are we going to have the same of white women beating up other people going to see Captain Marvel because the movie's not for them? The movie's for everyone, and especially this movie. It is such a strong message for the black, not only for just the black community, not for the African community, not for the African American community, but just a strong message to everyone in general. And like, even white male going to see this movie, for me, there was so much from this movie I took from it that that it actually made me cry. This is the first superhero movie, the first Marvel movie that has made me cry. And because there is such just a strong, relevant message that I took from it, that, I haven't had the history that the African American community has had, and I still took such a strong message from it. And it's just, it's bullshit that there are those who are trying to use this to spark outrage, to raise racial tensions at a time where they are already at an all-time high, that we can't just have this movie be a good thing. Like, things like this is why we can't have good things. Chadwick Boseman also talks about the impact that Black Panther is having on the black community, especially black children. How that he mentions that, like, growing up as a child, he had those moments of, like, you know, waiting for Christmas to happen, waiting for birthdays to happen, you know, when you would be waiting for it and you'd get this present, and that he can relate to, as a child, that Black Panther is like that for young black children. And he actually specifically talks about two young black boys who were actually in the hospital with terminal cancer that he had been in communication with throughout the filming of Black Panther, and that they told him, and that their parents told him, that they were doing their best to hold on until this movie came out. And that was really humbling for him, that, you know, he knew, not just because of the impact it would have on the entire black community, but just for these two young boys, that they had to make this movie amazing. That, you know, he had to get up, he had to go to work, he had to work with his other just amazing castmates to make this movie amazing. And it's actually incredibly sad. It became a very emotional interview when he mentions that they actually didn't make it, that they didn't actually make it to seeing this movie completed, and that the fact that these two boys had just so much hopes wrapped up into seeing this movie, into seeing a hero like them, and they didn't get the chance to see it, is really sad. Whereas it was a really emotional interview, and and that specific occurrence is on a very small scale, but I also think it's on a very large scale when you really think about it, that, you know, these two boys growing up, they wanted a hero like them, and they were so close to having it. They were so close to having it, and they didn't make it to that because it took so long. It's taken one more movies invented, what, the 1920s, 1930s, definitely in the early 1900s, so over 100 years. Young black men and young black women, young black children, or just any culture that's not primarily white has had to wait over 100 years for 2017 and 2018 to have that kind of hero. And fortunately, we are now at a point where that is becoming the norm. Not that them waiting is becoming the norm, that the fact that that such a diverse group of heroes is becoming the norm. So thankfully we've hit that time, but it's a shame that we've had to wait that different communities have had to wait that long for that impact. What did you think of these Daily Marvels, and were there any news stories that you'd like to talk about? Let me know in the comments, and follow me on all the internets. If you like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up and share it around so others can join in the conversation. If you want to see my reviews of Marvel TV shows and movies, go to www.treyguillotine.com and subscribe to my channel to geek out some more. Thanks for watching, and have fun.